Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the most compelling stories from around the world. Today, we dive deep into the heart of a maritime clash in the South China Sea. Join us as we explore the high-stakes standoff between the China Coast Guard and the Philippine Navy Gunboat at 2nd Thomas Shoal. In this exclusive report, we'll take you on a journey to the heart of the South China Sea. Tensions are rising as the China Coast Guard engages in a high-stakes standoff with the Philippine Navy Gunboat. But what's the cause of this intense confrontation? 2nd Thomas Shoal, a remote and disputed atoll, is at the center of this conflict. As both nations lay claim to this strategic location, the situation is volatile, to say the least. The Philippine Navy Gunboat is on a resupply mission to support troops stationed there, but it's not a simple operation. The Philippines said it has successfully shipped fresh supplies to a military outpost in a shoal in the South China Sea, despite what it described as attempts by Chinese vessels to block, harass, and interfere with the mission. A significant number of Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels tried to stop the latest resupply mission carried out by the Philippine military and Coast Guard on Wednesday, Manila's National Security Council said in a statement. China said it warned 2 Philippine supply boats and 2 Coast Guard vessels to leave the sea area near Nancha Islands on Wednesday and followed the ships throughout, according to a statement from the Chinese Coast Guard. Nancha Islands is how Beijing calls Spratly Islands in the South China Sea that is being claimed by the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, Vietnam, and Taiwan. The Philippines has been regularly shipping provisions to a World War I-era ship in 2nd Thomas Shoal that has served as its outpost in the disputed sea since 1999. But Manila has said China's Coast Guard and maritime militia ships had constantly tried to block these missions, and the Philippines has been publishing videos and images of these encounters to back up its claims. The Philippines said a Chinese Coast Guard ship blocked and fired water cannons on a supply vessel on August 5, which prompted Manila to issue a diplomatic note. China's Coast Guard has said its actions were professional and justified. In another shoal in the South China Sea, Manila said last week that it removed a barrier that was installed by China. Beijing has, however, said it took out the structure by itself, as it maintained sovereignty in the area. The two nations have been locked in a territorial dispute in the resource-rich waters, with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ramping up protests over China's actions since he took power last year. Despite a 2016 International Arbitral Tribunal ruling that invalidated its expansive claims, China has been building up several unoccupied land features in the South China Sea, key route for around $3 trillion worth of traded goods. Marcos' administration will remain steadfast in adhering to a rules-based international order, the statement from the country's National Security Agency said. China's claim that it chased off a Philippine gunboat in the South China Sea is mere propaganda, a Philippine official has said. In the latest episode in the ongoing tit-for-tat over the sea's disputed waters, the Chinese Coast Guard asserted on Tuesday that one of its vessels had driven a Philippine naval ship away from Scarborough Shoal, a feature that has been a focal point of the maritime feud between the two countries, after warning it to turn back. General Romeo Bronner, who heads the armed forces of the Philippines, told the media later that day that while one of the country's ships had indeed been patrolling near the shoal, it had not been chased away but had stayed its course unfazed. It did not stop, nor did it change direction. It continued on its mission, he said, adding that the two vessels had not been in close proximity. The latest incident, or non-incident, harkens back to when China claimed to have driven the U.S. Benfold out of waters around the Paracel Islands, which are claimed by both China and Vietnam. The U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet rebuffed the claim, saying the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer had carried out its mission in accordance with international law, and then continued on to conduct normal operations in international waters. China has frequently reported ejecting U.S. Navy ships on freedom of navigation operations from waters it claims jurisdiction over, Harrison Pratat, Associate Director and Associate Fellow with the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative, told Newsweek. By asserting they chased away a Philippine ship, Chinese authorities are projecting an image of strength to domestic audiences and attempting to demonstrate to foreign audiences, especially in the Philippines and United States, that it controls and can regulate activities in these areas, he said. Pratat added that while the risk has been higher in recent months, he believes a serious clash is still unlikely. Neither the Philippines nor China is looking for an armed confrontation over South China Sea reefs, though both sides have increased their risk tolerance and adopted new tactics to deter the other from actions seen as encroaching on their maritime areas. The issue is the latest in a growing list of grievances between the Philippines and its giant neighbor. In September, the Philippines Coast Guard announced it had dismantled a nearly 1,000-foot-long barrier China had set up to block off Philippine fishermen from traditional fishing grounds. Vice Admiral Alberto Carlos of the Philippines Western Command vowed to remove any additional obstructions China might erect. Beijing hit back by warning its neighbor not to make provocations. China's Coast Guard has been accused of employing water cannons against Philippine supply boats en route to restock Marines stationed at 2nd Thomas Shoal, another feature contested by China. Beijing claims all that lies within its 9-dash line, which includes most of the South China Sea, as its sovereign territory. This puts it in conflict with the territorial claims of the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. With exclusive maps and graphics, we'll break down the geography and territorial claims that have fueled this tension for years. It's a battle of wills, and the world is watching. Stay tuned for exclusive interviews with experts in maritime law, international relations, and military strategy. We'll gain insights into the implications of this conflict on a global scale and what it means for regional stability. The headlines are buzzing, and the situation is fluid. Our channel is your source for real-time updates and analysis. If you want to stay informed about this critical issue, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into the China Coast Guard's harassment of the Philippine Navy gunboat during its resupply mission at 2nd Thomas Shoal. If you found this video informative, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.